years at the leadership of the ILO. A great deal has been achieved in those years. The reorganization of the office with 4 sectors improved the management and focus of the office on a finite number of priorities. In that early period, you made the valid point that any organization with over 100 priorities has no priorities. The late 90s and the early years of the new millennium were a period in which concerns about the impact of globalization spread. Workers were concerned about the implication of free trade and deregulated financial markets on employment security and income inequality. You demonstrated great leadership in organizing the World Commission on the social dimension of globalization in response to these concerns. The basic message of the World Commission was that globalization had to be managed by governments and international organizations to ensure it produced benefits for all and not just small elite. That message remains relevant today. There is no doubt that your lasting legacy will be the decent work concept. The ability to capture and explain in 2 simple words the values, the principles and standards of the ILO is a remarkable achievement. This has allowed us to win increased support for our mission at both national and international levels. Our group also wants to pay tribute to your commitment to gender equality. As the representative of the workers' group, it would be remiss of me not to mention the advances made in developing new international labor standards during the mandate of the Director General. Some of the highlights include Convention 182 about the worst forms of child labor, the Maternity Protection Convention, the Maritime Labor Convention, the HIV/AIDS recommendation, the Domestic Workers Convention, and the Employment Relationship Recommendation. It is also under your leadership that the ILO developed its response to the global financial and economic crisis with the adoption of the Global Jobs Pact in 2009 in a manner that enhanced ILO's standing as a global partner. Your vision, dynamism, and creativity have brought this organization to a different level. The ILO is much more visible and recognized at the international level and within the UN and other international organizations. You have been able to put labor issues at the heart of the global development debate, moving employment and job creation on the agenda of the IMF, the World Bank, and the G20. You believed in integration, the inclusion of ILO values in the work of the United Nations and other organizations. Also of great importance was the 2008 Declaration on Social Justice for a Fair Globalization. There are many aspects of this declaration that are extremely important, especially given the global economic environment we face today and the challenges we will confront in the years ahead. In conclusion, dear Director General Juan, the Workers' Group thank you for the battles you have fought on behalf of working women and men over the last 14 years. We thank you for your solidarity and your support. Many trade unionists whose life and freedoms were in danger took courage from your support in their struggle. We wish you well in your future projects in your native country, with your family and friends, but I think also internationally. We thank you for all. We'll never forget you. We never forget your commitment. We never forget your work.
Dear Luc Kortebek, dear friends from ACTRAF, DAN, ITUC, mi querida amiga, all of us have worked together for so long that you can understand that this is it's a moving moment for me to come to the group that first suggested to me that I should become a candidate for the post of Director General. It began here, and I come here to thank you for having suggested it. For having suggested it, for having backed me, and for having worked together all of these years in the many issues that Luc was highlighting. So the connection with you is very, very strong. And of course, at a moment in which the governing body has decided to elect a member of the workers' movement, of the trade union movement in the world, it is also a particularly significant moment, which I highlighted in my speech to inaugurating this session, the significance of having the Director General-elect Guy Ryder being the head of the ILO towards the future. I believe that it's an enormous recognition of the work that you have done, of the work that the ILO has done, of the work that a Guy has done for social dialogue, for understanding, but at the same time for defending the values and the interests of the ILO. Permítanme decirles en mi propia lengua que mi relación con el mundo del trabajo y con el mundo sindical comenzó hace más de 4 décadas en mi propio país. Los compañeros chilenos que están aquí recordarán el papel que jugó en su época Luis Figueroa como presidente de la CUT, Hernán del Canto como secretario general. Fueron 2 personas con las cuales yo trabajé extraordinariamente cerca cuando me tocó dirigir en Chile al gobierno en materia de integración económica regional. También, como delegado de Chile al Pacto Andino, fui uno de los que promovió la creación del Consejo Asesor Económico y Social del Grupo Andino, en donde me encontré con el mundo del trabajo de los países andinos. Luego me encuentro con la CIOLS en esa época, en la época del exilio, en la época que sindicalistas chilenos y otros chilenos estábamos en el exilio, y esa solidaridad extraordinaria que tuvieron ustedes con la lucha democrática en Chile. Yo tuve la oportunidad de volver a Chile 7 años antes que derrotáramos a la dictadura de Pinochet. Y en esos 7 años, nuevamente, el trabajo político de relación con el mundo sindical fue absolutamente esencial. Y, como digo, los compañeros chilenos aquí se recordarán que en esa época creamos la Asamblea de la Civilidad, que fue un elemento central en el camino a la unidad nacional con el objeto de derrotar a Pinochet pacíficamente por la vía de un plebiscito, por la vía sencillamente de una rayita en un voto. El proceso de movilización chilena se deshizo de Pinochet. ¿Por qué les cuento todo esto? Porque la relación con ustedes comenzó antes de que yo llegara a la OIT, y la relación con ustedes va a seguir después que yo me vaya a la OIT. Está absolutamente en el centro, en el eje de mis creencias, de mis convicciones y desde luego de la manera como voy a seguir actuando en el futuro. I've mentioned all of this, you know, up to the moment that Chile recovered democracy. But then came the World Summit for Social Development, and we worked together on something of which I feel extremely, extremely proud. We placed 7 ILO conventions at the heart of a decision by 117 heads of state, the biggest meeting of heads of state at the time, as a recognition that the international community believed that these 7 ILO conventions were key and needed to be ratified and implemented, not just the ILO tripartism. And it was the first time that the ILO conventions were recognized internationally. And it is no doubt the basis for the 1998 declaration. So all of that happened before I got here. Now, once here, we worked together, certainly, on all that has to do with the decent work agenda. And I have to say that your support on that has been essential. And what I find extraordinary is that you also launched the Decent Work Day as something that will stay in time and in history. Thank you for your support on the social dimension of globalization, on the Social Justice Declaration, on the Global Jobs Pact, on the social protection floors, on gender equality, as you has mentioned, which has been a key element of my mandate, but also the role you played in the presence of the ILO in the G20. From the first day, from the first meeting in Washington of the G20, the ITUC was there. ITUC was there meeting the presidents there. And part of the meeting the presidents was also saying, look, there's a voice missing here. So yes, there are a number of elements that converged. We had produced the Global Jobs Pact. We had demonstrated that we were capable of addressing with the ILO values the crisis. But the lobbying that was made in those early meetings of the G20 on the part of the workers was absolutely essential. We also got support from Lula and Cristina Fernandez, and certainly from Sarkozy and other presidents. Unfortunately, you know, the battle still continues, and certainly the rights at work are not generally acknowledged and recognized. So let me just finalize by saying that one of the fundamental tasks of my time here in the ILO was ensuring whatever we could do as an institution, whatever I could do as head of the ILO and in my own commitments, for those of you who were either in danger or in difficult circumstances. I remember when I arrived, it was Pagpahan who was the problem, or Dita Indasari. But then came Laksan Basner in Nepal. We had to ensure that we could get him out of Nepal into the frontier and into India. Sitole, Morgan, Wellington in Zimbabwe, Julio Roberto in Colombia, each one in different circumstances, not that they have, not all of them have, you know, suffered in the same different manners. Of course, Rabiatu in Guinea. Lately now, in the last days, Abdullah Hussein in Bahrain, Abdel Salem Gerad in Tunis. All these are real names behind which the ILO has been present together, but also in Belarus, also in Swaziland, certainly in Egypt. Freedom Association in Egypt was announced when I visited there as the first international organization leader that went there. But let me highlight, with your permission, 2 symbolic cases. My sister Rabiatu Sera Diallo, let me pay tribute to this great woman, member of the governing body of the ILO, who led the struggle for democracy in her country, Guinea. The ILO stood side by side with her and the trade union movement to move the country on the path of democracy and respect for human rights and trade union rights. And she presided effectively the Transitional Government Committee, leading the country to presidential elections, and continues to be a fundamental figure in the social and political process of the process towards democracy in Guinea. And also, second point, let me highlight our Myanmar commitment. We have never given up. We persisted. We were there. Whenever we left the foot in the door and expanded that door. And we moved from denial to receiving complaints. But what I want to say here is that story started with a complaint by ICFTU more than 20 years ago, It was a well-researched complaint which the Commission of Inquiry found to be absolutely valid. At the time, hardly anybody knew about the abuse of forced labor in Myanmar. We would not be where we are now if that solid dossier of evidence had not been presented into the standards system. So, Maung Mon, I want to congratulate him. Yes, Maung Mon, you led the struggle, you were there, you're a symbol of that struggle for us, and we are now together with you in your desire to live in your country, to organize workers in your country, and to be present in your country. And that, for us, will be a great success of your leadership, but also of our capacity to be with Myanmar all of these years. But let me also congratulate Brother O Tan Zin, chairperson of the Basic Labor Organization, who has been elected by all the newly registered free trade unions in Myanmar to represent Myanmar at this conference. And I believe that it's fantastic to have him here. Let me mention also other of your members, other of our brothers and sisters with whom I have worked. Johnny van der Becken, he worked with me in the preparation of the Social Summit, was my liaison with the ICFTU when I was campaigning. Willie Tees, a great friend, working very well when the unity had not yet been established. Bill Jordan, Sir Roy, Mark Blondell, fantastic delegate to the governing body and on all of the management and financial issues. Of course, Luc, we've been working together for many, many, many years, and I think that your presence in the Applications Committee and all that you have done all of these years are absolutely fantastic, and I simply want to honor you in your role as president of the group. Sharon Burrows, Michael Sommer, Trina Lise Sunders now replacing Mark Blondell. And in my own region, permit me to be a little bit Latin American, Victor Baez, Gerardo Martinez of Argentina, Arturo Martinez, the president of CUT in Chile. But remembering these friends, also I remember friends that are no longer with us. And I reminiscence about ties that bind us. I must mention with great sadness some friends like Lord Brett, a towering figure in the workers' group and also in the broader life of the organization. Great work he did in the World Commission on the social dimension of globalization, but also Luis Anderson and Emilio Maspero, both of them good friends of mine. Doña Hilda Anderson, which was with us only up to very recently. And of course, excuse me again, I think about my Chilean roots, Manuel Bustos and Maria Rosas, who was a member also of your governing body. And let me mention one person also from Latin America, Jose Olivio. Jose Olivio, when I was campaigning, said something absolutely fantastic to me. He said, Juan, never forget that the ILO was established in order to defend the rights of workers. And, and that has in fact been a guidance. And of course, he was in the CUT, he was in a governing body, he was in ICFTUs, he was in ACTRAV, in ITUC and ACTRAV. So I have named many of friends throughout life, and these names reflect the distinctive quality of the group and the international trade union movement. You keep producing great leaders and spokespersons. Let me end by saying that on the issue of standards, which is so central to your group, I have been steadfast in upholding the role of the ILO in establishing the norms for the world of work. Instruments adopted after I took office, just to mention a few, the worst forms of child labor, the Maritime Convention, the Promotional Framework on Safety and Health, the HIV recommendation, the domestic workers, last year, of course, a milestone in the standard system. And now we have the Committee on the Principles and Rights at Work in order to plan ahead what we need to do into the future. but we also had the Maternity Protection Convention, the Safety and Health in Agriculture. We had 8 conventions, 1 protocol, and 12 recommendations in this period that were approved by the conference. So, my friends, I am leaving the ILO but not retiring from the struggle for social justice. My enthusiasm and determination to continue in this endeavor will certainly not diminish. I am sure that our path will cross again in pursuing this goal, and I look forward to that immensely. It has truly been an honor to be the Director General of this noble organization and to work with you and your predecessors. My heartfelt thanks for your support in this memorable journey. The companions are many, the friendship long-lasting, the commitment forever. And let me say a final word. The ILO was born out of the social and political struggles of the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. It continues to be at the heart of the social and political struggles of the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century. This is the essence of the ILO. The social and political struggles shape the possibility and the potential to advance or to backslide, because we are intimately linked to the life of our society, and it is there where your presence, your significance, your importance back home, representing it here, and the values that I have espoused all of my life come together. I will continue, as I say, be involved in the struggle for social justice. It is my identity, it is my belief, and it will continue on that at the national level and at the international level. Again, thank you so very much for your support, your friendship, and what we have done together.
We don't have a lot of time, but I want to give the floor to our friend Rabiato Diallo.
Mais je retiens que Dieu même n'aime pas les ingrats. Vous avez reconnu que c'est le groupe travailleur qui a été le premier à vous demander à être candidat. Et par la grâce de Dieu, il nous a renvoyé l'ascenseur pour nous donner un travailleur comme votre remplaçant au poste de 10e directeur général. Nous ne pourrons jamais vous oublier. Et je retiens aussi un mot que vous venez de dire, que vous nous quittez, mais que vous resterez parmi nous, et nous l'espérons. En tout cas, pour la Guinée, l'intercentrale, CNTG, ONSLG, USTG et les 4 autres centrales, et toute la Guinée, nous vous restons reconnaissants parce que grâce à vous, grâce à votre appui, grâce à votre accompagnement, nous avons pu retourner à l'ordre constitutionnel. Aujourd'hui, nous avons franchi un grand pas, l'élection du président. Nous allons vers les législatives et vous continuez à nous appuyer. Et on vous avait invité, Monsieur le directeur général, même que vous partez, l'intercentrale, le jour que vous aurez besoin d'aller vous reposer avec votre famille, la porte vous est ouverte en République de Guinée. La classe ouvrière guinéenne sera toute heureuse de vous recevoir. Nous vous portons dans notre cœur, nous ne pourrons jamais vous oublier et le groupe travailleur ne pourra jamais vous oublier. Merci, 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 que Dieu vous donne la paix du cœur.
Je vous remercie, Rabiato. Je pense, oui, ok. Francis.
But I want to be very brief. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Sister Rabiato has said everything I would have said. And in your summary, thanks to our dear brother Juan Somavia, you said everything on what he did. He was really a champion of social justice. All initiatives that he made were pro-workers. And what he did to us, particularly we people from the developing world, in Africa in particular, will remain in our memories for now and for years to come. He did introduce issues that are close to our hearts: social protection, flow, youth employment, of which we are now debating, fundamental principles at work, and other so many initiatives, including the ILO conventions that we received during his tenure of work, were all pro-workers and geared towards protecting a lowly placed worker everywhere in the world. We thank you, Brother Juan Somavia. We will remember you, and we will remember your efforts to make sure that you fought for the really social issues that concern social and political globally. We thank you for the good work you did. We will remember you, we will never forget you, and you are free to visit us in our various places of work. Thank you, brother.